Tyler Chrestman, and welcome to this week's Chrestman Conversation. We have got something fun today, which I'm pretty excited about. It may have some larger ramifications than I might be giving it credit for at this point. However, I want to talk about it just because it's kind of fun. We're going to talk about Hillary Clinton just savaging Bernie Sanders the other day. It was incredibly entertaining for those of us who have been watching the Democratic Party have a sort of ideological battle for the heart in their future. And it's been fun for me to watch over the past couple of days. You're watching the radical progressive wing of the party fight the moderate, old-fashioned, traditional Democratic establishment. And it's been entertaining, I will say that. And Hillary Clinton kicked it off. She's come out of hiding. Apparently, there's a new docu-series that's getting ready to premiere on Hulu, it sounds like. I think it's just called Hillary, maybe. It's going to follow her, basically, her thoughts on 2016, what happened, her life, blah, blah, blah. I don't know which of you sick, depraved people out there have been demanding more Hillary Clinton, but you need to knock it off, first of all. Just go ahead and say that. I don't know. I understand maybe why the Obamas are getting some documentary things on Netflix. That makes sense to me. People want more of them. Who out there is demanding more Hillary Clinton documentaries? I want to know where the market is for this. Who are they selling it to? Who's the target audience? I'm shocked. I don't know. But you need to get help. Get help, people. If you want to see more Hillary Clinton, something's wrong with you. Well, actually, you know what? I can't say that, though. I want to see more Hillary Clinton because she came out this week and she was entertaining, if nothing else. I have said this before. I'll say it again. I wrote a piece, an article, 2015, about Hillary Clinton, where I explained why I voted for Hillary Clinton over Donald Trump. And I compared Hillary Clinton to cough syrup, where when you're a kid and you're sick and your parents give you cough syrup and it tastes disgusting and it's almost as bad as the illness that you're trying to fight. That's how I think of Hillary Clinton. She's terrible. I thought she was a better choice than Donald Trump in 2016 because at that point, Donald Trump just seemed like something that we did not want anywhere close to the presidency. That's still how I think of Hillary Clinton. She's terrible. I still don't like Donald Trump. Hillary Clinton's awful. But at least this week she was entertaining. She came out, and I'm going to read you the quote in its entirety because it is so fun. They asked her about Bernie Sanders, and this is the quote in its entirety. Quote, honestly, Bernie just drove me crazy. He was in Congress for years. He had one senator support him in the 2016 primary. Nobody likes him. Nobody wants to work with him. He got nothing done. He was a career politician. He did not work until he was like 41, and then he got elected to something. It was just all baloney. I feel so bad that people got sucked into it. Oh my God. That's amazing. Now, I liked Bernie Sanders back in 2016 over Hillary Clinton because I would have supported anyone over Hillary Clinton. But to listen to Hillary Clinton just now come out 4 years removed and just go in on Bernie Sanders. He didn't work till he was 41. That's been a common Republican point for years. That guy didn't have a job. He never did a thing until he was a politician. Nobody likes him. Nobody wants to work with him. He had one senator support him. That is a savage critique. The guy was in the Senate for like 40 years, and only one person ever endorsed him from the Senate. It says a lot. Honestly. Now, you can say that they were just scared of the Clinton political establishment coming out against it, but at the same time, you were in the Senate for 40 years. He's got no major legislation to his name, and he had one person support him in that entire time. Hilarious. Then the reporter asked if that assessment she had in 2016 still held up, and she said, quote, yes, it does, end quote. Man. 2 weeks before Iowa, she's going to come out of hiding under the rock from which she slithered, and she's going to just weigh in on the primary when Bernie Sanders is having, a moment at this point. Elizabeth Warren's fading in the polls. Biden is cruising his way to victory as he always was. But Bernie is looking decent again. He was looking bad. Now he was looking good. Then he looked bad. Now he's looking good again. He's at least solid second or third place in this race. And she comes out and she does this. And then she went on to say later, quote, "It's not only him, it's the culture around him. It's his leadership team. It's his prominent supporters. It's his online Bernie bros. It should be worrisome that he has permitted this culture, not only permitted, seems to really very much support it." End quote. That's her talking about the misogyny that she sees within Bernie Sanders' campaign. And this all came to light after the Elizabeth Warren Bernie Sanders blow up, which we all remember. Elizabeth Warren basically came out and said, Bernie said a woman couldn't be president. Now, critique of Elizabeth Warren time, how cynical of a play is that? That is obviously not true, that Bernie Sanders doesn't believe that a woman could be president. That guy has been saying a woman could be president since the 80s. Does anyone out there believe Bernie Sanders is a sexist? If any serious person wants to come make that contention, I would love to hear it, but it's just ridiculous. You might say some of his supporters online dip into misogyny. There seems to be evidence to support that. I don't think Bernie Sanders permits misogyny within his campaign. I don't think he is a sexist. I think Elizabeth Warren used a conversation where Bernie Sanders, he may have said a woman couldn't be president, but he didn't mean a woman can't do it. It was probably more of a private critique between friends where you're saying, like, I don't think a woman could be president because America is sexist, which Bernie Sanders doesn't like. He wasn't saying, I don't think a woman could be president because they're menopause. It's like, that's not what he was saying, obviously. But Elizabeth Warren came out, she said, yeah, he said this terrible thing, he's a sexist, da-da-da. And then she just said, well, I don't know how it came out, but it definitely happened. And then Bernie Sanders said, no, it didn't. And he may know that it did. It may have, but he knows that it's a mischaracterization designed to assassinate his character. So to come out and say, no, it didn't, it's a time when it might not be the full truth, the 100% true, it may have happened, but I don't mind him denying it because he's obviously not a sexist. And so Hillary Clinton comes out. She says this about Bernie. She accuses him of being a sexist online. And I love it because hashtag I like Bernie became the top trend on Twitter the other day, and people pounced on Clinton saying she's out of touch. She doesn't understand his grassroots appeal, that she's lost touch with working class Americans. She probably never had that much in common with working class Americans, but or at least not for years and years and years. Here's why this is important. There is a fundamental fight, a civil war of sorts happening within the Democratic Party for the heart of the Democratic Party. The Democratic Party is two parties right now, and you're watching it try and pretend to be one. You have people like myself who I would say have always had Democratic leanings. I'm very Democrat and very liberal in certain areas, but have watched this new form of progressivism pop up and say, that has nothing to do with me. That doesn't represent working class Americans. That's not, which I'm one of those people. That doesn't represent us. What that represents is a bunch of Twitter nonsense manifest in young people who are good for nothing. That are just ideologues that are as poisonous as the ideologies that they detest. That's what those people are. And you're watching them fight with the older establishment Democrats. And you're watching people like Nancy Pelosi have to thread that needle. You're watching people like Hillary Clinton try and thread that needle where they say, we're progressives. Look, we'll restructure the healthcare system. We like Medicare. And it's like, okay, and the progressives say, no, we want Medicare for everyone. And, Social Security needs to be guaranteed until you're 112. And you say, like, okay, guys, the expanding entitlement programs doesn't make you progressive. It makes you fiscally irresponsible. They want to talk about justice and white privilege in the patriarchy without, knowing anything about the world from which they come, knowing anything about how these policies actually manifest themselves in reality. And when you look at Hillary Clinton's comments, you see the way that it has played out online, where she goes in on Sanders, and now Sanders is surging again, and you say, people really dislike the Democratic establishment at this point. And part of that is because the Democratic establishment has allowed this cancerous ideology to grow in its midst. The rise of anti-Semitism on the left is troubling. The rise of bigotry on the left in general is troubling. And it's that soft bigotry of low expectations and the outright bigotry against everything that doesn't exactly conform to their ideology. To be a heterosexual white male, if God forbid, in the 1%, is the worst thing you could possibly be in this country, according to some people. AOC said it the other day. They don't want our money. She doesn't want everyone's money. She wants power. AOC wants the power, and that's what progressivism is at this point. It's a power grab. It's a power grab to conform the world to an ideology that is cancerous, poisonous, terrible, all the way around. And when you look at comments like this by Hillary Clinton, you say, that's something I enjoy. You say, okay, I enjoy watching Hillary Clinton slap Bernie around and say, he doesn't know anything. Nobody likes him. Nobody wants to work with him. He never got anything done in Congress. He is a dreamer who wants to make, the next USSR, and he's being silly. Sit down. That's what Hillary Clinton said. And it's honestly, I don't know. How do you come back from it if you're Bernie Sanders? He said, on a good day, my wife likes me. That was his comeback. It was funny, but that wasn't what she meant. She meant no one in the Senate likes him, and that says something. When you're in the Senate for 40 years, you never passed a piece of legislation, never had a real grown-up job. You just went into politics after working on a commune for a long time and spending your honeymoon in the Soviet Union. It's like, when we look back on Bernie Sanders, in some ways, he was ahead of the game. The guy has been constant throughout his entire career. Some ways, that's good. When you look back in the 80s and you're talking about him being for gay marriage, that's good. I'm right there with you. I think that's great that you have someone with consistency who didn't just, quote unquote, evolve to suit the politics of the day. You have someone who actually believes in justice for everyone. That's good. The bad part is that he's on the wrong side of everything in terms of history. When you look back at the dictatorships that he praising Venezuela, praising Cuba, being really chummy to regimes that we now know are evil, it's not a good thing. It's not a good look. And when you're watching the Democratic Party, when you're watching people like Hillary Clinton and Bernie and Elizabeth Warren and Joe Biden, when you're watching all these people scrap it out, you only hope that the sane Democrats come out on top, and that this form of progressivism splits off and forms its own party, so the Democrats can go back to being democratic and not socialist. The Democrats are not the democratic socialists of America, although this party is turning into that. And if they turn into that, I hope that they get trounced in every single election ever. I have said this from the beginning. The Democrats are going to make me vote Republican. Never have done that in my life. They're going to make me do it. If you put Elizabeth Warren on the ticket, what do you want me to do? You want me to vote for Elizabeth Warren over Donald Trump? I say, which one's more dangerous? Donald Trump, you might not like him. I don't like him. I say this all the time. I don't love him. But you put him on the ticket against Elizabeth Warren, I say, which one of these people could damage the economy more? Which one of these people is more dangerous to the country? Elizabeth Warren. Elizabeth Warren is. Absolutely. What has Donald Trump done in the last 4 years that has been the worst? This is always the question I ask people. What has Donald Trump done that is so bad in the last 4 years? I can point to some things I don't like. I can point to a lot of things that I do like. But I can point to some things that I don't like. But the things that people will point to, most of them I will argue are overblown, manufactured conflicts. He's going through an impeachment right now. The entire thing is a farce. The entirety of the thing. Anyone who has paid attention to it, it's like, I don't understand how you come out on the other side and think that this is legitimate. It just is ridiculous. And when we're getting closer to the election, when Hillary Clinton's weighing in, she's putting her finger on the button, firing those missiles entertaining to watch because either Bernie will surge and he'll get the nomination, and if he wins the presidency, here's the two scenarios I see. A progressive wins in the Democratic Party, and then the country goes to shit because they implement their agenda, and then people realize that the democratic socialism is nonsensical, and that party implodes and then has to rebuild itself up as a more sane party. Or they get in there and they don't implement their agenda, and then the Democratic Party continues down this road because they think people, if the Democrats win, it's because people don't like Trump. It's not because they like socialism all of a sudden. And, or the Democrats lose so soundly that they have to reevaluate the direction that they've taken it. I hope that's the case. This is not what I want in my heart of hearts. It's not what I want. But I hope the Democrats lose so resoundingly that they have to get rid of this progressive ideology that has invaded them. There is real trouble to be had if the squad, the AOC wing, the Bernie Sanders wing of this party is going to be the future of the Democratic Party. I wish, in some ways, the two-party system is so broken. I wish there were at least 4 parties. We could have a progressive party, a more moderate Democrat party, and then a classic conservative party, as well as a libertarian party. That would be awesome. You know, I don't count the Green Party as a real party because they're, you know, they have like 6 people. Libertarian Party, for the most part, is your biggest third-party group, but that they have a whole bunch of issues in their ranks as well, and so it doesn't make them a super awesome alternative. But anyway, the entire point of this podcast is just to talk about the future. This podcast in general is really just about where do we want the country to go. It's not about just talking about the news of the day or what's happening. It's really everything that happens in the news cycle. The 24-hour news cycle is a bore. But when a story like this happens, the Hillary Clinton thing that dominated a lot of news for the past day, you say, well, what does it actually mean? And what this means is when you look at the underlying current, it's not just Hillary being petty, although that is fun. It's really just about the future of the Democrats. Are you going to stay with the Democrat classic, the establishment? Are we going to nominate Biden? Is he going to be the presidential nominee? Or are we going to nominate Warren or Bernie, one of these progressive candidates? And I don't know. I don't know where the Democrats are going to land. I actually can't wait to see the answer to that question unfold before us, because it's going to be telling about where the future of a lot of people in politics lies. Because a lot of working class Americans don't like socialism. They don't like the big government interventionist policies of the progressive wing. And the blue dog Democrats, those people who used to appeal to the factory workers and the unions, you need those people to win. And if you alienate those people, I don't see a path to victory for Democrats anymore. And I hope that's not the case. I don't know if Biden can beat Trump, but I know that even if Bernie beats Trump, I know in the long run it's worse. And because people will then think that progressivism is the wave of the future, when in reality people just don't like Donald Trump. So hopefully we figure it out as a nation and we get on track. I think people are starting to wake up to the wokeness, and they're starting to learn that being woke is just nonsense. And I don't think they're going to tolerate it for much longer. I hope not, because it's not good for the future of our country if half of the country acts so irrationally about every little thing that you can't have a conversation anymore. And that's what people like AOC do. Anyway, we are looking forward to Iowa. I'm going to do more of these podcasts in the next coming weeks for sure to get us amped up, ready to go, ready for primary season, ready for election 2020. And we'll be talking about a bunch of different things. We're going to do what I really would like to do, and I've talked about this a couple times. I'm going to really implement it now. I'm going to do shorter podcasts, real short, 10 to 20 minutes in length, which is hard for me. It's hard for me to speak briefly. I tend to be long-winded. And we're going to do more of them. I would like to do one every couple of days, every few days maybe, just to have more hot takes and less structured things like I normally do. But also that means we're only going to do Book of the Week once a week, which is obviously why it would be called Book of the Week and not Book of the Episode. So we're not going to do one today. I might do it on like Fridays, maybe. I haven't decided. We'll figure it out. Anyway, I'm going to leave it here for the day. I'm Tyler Chrestman. Thank you guys for tuning in to the Chrestman Conversation. Don't forget to like, subscribe, leave a comment, give me some questions, email, whatever the case may be. Email, leave it in the YouTube comments, whatever you'd like. I will answer them on the show. Anything you want to ask, anything at all, politics related, life, philosophy, I don't know what color to paint your guest room. I don't care. Anything you want. Go ahead, email them in. And we're going to leave it there. I'll talk to you guys later. Have a good one.